one dog, and I was like, yeah, I have a son. The son's chasing me. I'm a dumber. That was brutal. Just wasn't my cup of tea.
It is 7:01. I apologize for the tardiness. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's Dayton City Council meeting on June 1st, 2021. Roll call, please.
Mayor Baker,
Here.
Member Bolter,
Here.
Member Nearing,
Here.
Member Neiman,
Here.
Member Kelly,
Here.
Member Lovins, Member Baszler,
Here.
City Administrator Fawcett,
Here.
City Attorney Edmondson.
Here.
Full house. I always appreciate that. Thank you for showing up. We'd now like to take a moment for silence and then the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the mayor's report, I want to give a big shout out to all the people who showed up for the Memorial Day parade. It was a great getting back to normal experience for us. We had a great turnout. We worked alongside Bellevue and the North County Health Department to make sure everything was safe. And it was a great feeling. So thanks to everybody involved for that. Other than that, I don't have much to report for this month. So we'll move along to the approval of the May 4th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the May 4th, 2021 minutes?
I'll make that motion, sir.
Motion been made by Member Neary. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Bolter. Do we have any comments? Roll call, please.
Member Bolter,
Aye.
Member Nearing,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Lovins,
Aye.
Member Baszler,
Aye.
All in favor? They pass. Moving along to the department head report. We'll start off today with, let's go Mr. Hatfield.
Being June 1st is today, I was late getting my report in, but I got it in around 11 o'clock, so hopefully you all was able to forward that to you. Nothing too out of the ordinary with that. Usually it's been a little bit slower, but we got a lot more call runs in May, so that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Mr. Hatfield? Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Do we have a curfew in the summertime?
Yes, we do. I know. Why don't you guys have I had it with me? Let me think. Summertime, it is, I think it's, I don't want to say it's, I don't have exact times.
But we do have one now.
We do have one when school's out. Actually, it's from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay.
And I believe it's like 12 o'clock. On the weekends, it was 11 o'clock. But I can post that on our Facebook page again to put it out to the general public. So I have that with me.
Do we stop people from lighting off giant fireworks in our city?
It's hard. We just had somebody up by my house last night, Fort Thomas area, shooting them off last night. They're pretty big. We try, if some way we can narrow it down, so that by the time it gets called in, it gets reported, and we close down, they're all done with, or they're gone, we can't find out who did it. So it just takes cooperation with the general public and a neighbor, saying my neighbor's lighting them off.
Yeah.
And then we can go, but that's how we've been dealing with it.
I'm asking on behalf of my dog.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Chief Hatfield? Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Falling in line with first responders, Mr. Atkins, would you mind?
Thank you, sir. You all should have gotten my report today, hopefully. A couple things I want to touch on. One, you're gonna see the guys out doing hydrants. We're flowing hydrants right now. We're just trying to get good accurate pressures. So what we're doing is we're flowing them, and then we're marking them with tape, and they're color coded based on the gallons per minute. So there's 290 some hydrants in 2 cities. So we're about halfway done. It's kind of a tedious process because we can't just go up and open the hydrant check. We have to flow it to a pitot gauge and then get a static pressure, and then, so it just takes a little bit of time. Also, on my report, our ambulance is being delayed about a month or so. Like everybody else, COVID is causing all kinds of problems for manufacturers, so there's some parts we're waiting to get on ours. It's been held up, so we're looking end of June, 1st of July. I did hope you noticed that we did hire 2 people. We lost 2 to other departments, and we've hired 2 people, but I may have another one leaving soon. So we'll be scrambling to try to find somebody for that spot. And then also I want to make note, I kind of want to give a little bit of praise to the police department. May the 16th, we were dispatched for a run for pediatric, for a child not breathing. When we got there, Officer Getz from the police department was on scene doing CPR on the child, baby. Unfortunately, the outcome was not what we hoped for, but Officer Getz gave that child a chance, and he was there doing outstanding CPR until our guys got there, and we were right behind him. So I just want to recognize the police department. We all work well together, and they don't get nearly enough praise and accommodations for when they do good things. It seems like the only time they hear anything is when the police are. Somebody's mad at the police, but I just want to take a moment and let everybody know that we have good cops here, and they did a really good job that day. So, and to actually point out that this is what we see. You know, we see these kinds of things, and we take these things home with us. So this is not just running down the road in the ambulance. We actually see people at their worst, and we see horrible things. So I just want to make people aware of that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Atkins?
Chief, you mentioned in your report that we still have concern with COVID
Yes.
among the staff. Can you go into detail on that?
I had one that tested positive about 10 days ago. He's cleared to come back. He said it was like a really horrible sinus infection with a fever. He couldn't shake, but nothing, no serious symptoms. He just COVID, so he's off 10 days, but he's better. So not sure where he picked it up.
And your staff still has to use the full PPE going on scene? Or?
So what we're doing is we're following guidelines, and if it's a run, I mean, technically we could say every patient is possibly a COVID carrier. So if there's a run that comes in and they're exhibiting symptoms that, you know, could be, we're wearing masks, we're cutting back on the full body, you know, Tyvek suits, things like that, because they're just saying there's not really a benefit as long as we're wearing the masks and we're in eye protection, and then going from there. If it's obvious and we know they're COVID positive, then we'll maybe take a few more steps. But we're just trying to be take precautions with everyone.
Just comparing it to last year, all the steps that you had to take.
Yes.
Any extra expense and time.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't say enough about how the guys have handled this. So they've got their butts kicked on top of having to wear extra layers of protection and deal with the unknowns, and then worry about taking it home to their families. And again, they're champs. I can't say enough about them. So.
Any other questions for Chief Atkins?
No, but I'm gonna go on record and praise the fire department. Lincoln had their last day of school picnic, 22 inflatables, and what they loved the most was the fire truck and the hose. And the firefighters came down. I mean, the kids had a blast. Shooting it up in the air. I mean, they were all soaking wet. But they loved it, and the firefighters were fantastic with the kids. So Lincoln definitely appreciated that.
I've got good guys, and they enjoy getting out and doing those kinds of things. We were at Grandview doing their parade for the elementary school Thursday night. So, I mean, we're in the schools. You know, we do these things. This is, again, we do a lot of stuff that people don't know about, don't see. I cannot say enough about police and fire departments in these cities. So,
I want to point out real quick, while you brought up the correlation and the partnership with the police department, I received a text message on Facebook from a citizen last week. They wanted a wellness call.
okay.
And I reached out to Chief Mathville, and he almost immediately responded to me and said, hey, let's take care of that. He reached out to his guys on duty, and it needs to be noticed it was Officer Hawks that responded to an apartment and had to do a forced entry into a building and literally saved that woman's life. And your department responded immediately and got that lady to a hospital, and it's because of the partnership between you two that woman's still with us today. So you guys are great together, and we're really appreciative of the partnership.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yes, Lincoln loves you guys. Same thing with the officers. I mean, the officers come down there, the kids are playing basketball, they'll get out, they interact, but Lincoln truly does appreciate both departments. And I've seen it hands-on because I'm there, so. Good job, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
I do have a little bit further for Jessie. I have her answer for you. It is 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sunday through Thursday. And then Friday and Saturday it's midnight.
Okay.
And that's Memorial Day to Labor Day.
It's under 18?
Under 18 or accompanied by a parent or adult.
Okay.
I was just curious because Fort Thomas was pushing it and I kept getting emails on it and I'm
We've
like,
always had the same, we've had the same one for a while. The only thing that's changed was the daytime curfew when school's in session.
Thank you very much, Chief.
That's fine.
Moving along, I'd like to ask Mr. Lucas to please address council with your department head report. Now we're in alphabetical order. We do the first responders now, everybody else.
Yeah, I got my report in a little late, but hopefully everybody got it. It's been a very busy month. The month of May was very busy for us. We do have the permanent street sweeping signs up now on 4th, from the floodgates to Clay, and up Clay to 6th Avenue. And that will be done on the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month, till probably at least September. And just a lot of work on the parade route, typical litter and garbage and all that. The parks, we've been cutting the parks every week, but there's been so many events. Just overall, I mean, SD1 started at Sergeant Park, or the plumber. We got it to the street, and I guess Mr. Yoder will let you know what's going on from there. But other than that, I don't have anything. I'll probably start taking down the memorial stuff this week and putting our city, state, and American flags up. Is that okay?
I think next week should be fine for that, yes?
Okay. And then I'm gonna start taking off a day or two here and there.
Good.
Upcoming events, we have a tree on 100 block of 6th Avenue that we're gonna be taking down. Right now, it's planned to come down June the 8th, starting in the morning. And then,
The reason that's coming down is that's the old theater, which is the printing company now, and they want to fix the front of that building and fix it up, but they can't do it because the street's there. So we talked to the property owner and worked out a deal to take that down so he can make the improvements to that building. Sorry to interrupt you.
well, no, it's fine, it's fine. Other than that, unless somebody's got some questions.
I have a question. Street cleaning. Do we go up and down or we just go one way on the street cleaning? Out of
We do the
curiosity.
south side, the north side of 4th, and then the east side, the west side of Clay, and the north side of 6th Avenue. We just go one way.
One way on the avenue.
Yeah, that's the side that where all the dirt, what's being tracked, it's tracked on that side, not the incoming side.
I mean, I was gonna say, because they bring dirt in and out, correct?
Yeah, but usually by the time they get to Dayton, I mean, it's pretty much, but either way, I mean,
That's
It
just
would be
been
almost
a big
impossible,
complaint right now. That's the only thing I'm getting on.
I mean, you'd have to take parking off both sides of the street, everywhere, twice a month.
That's why I didn't know if you rotate like one, you know what I mean, the first 2 weeks you do one side, the second 2 weeks is for the other side. And that way, within a month, everyone's getting hit.
I mean, you can, but it may require more than one time on the north side of the streets. I mean, that's, we can try to do whatever we need to do.
Oh, I was just, that's the only complaints we're getting from the public is why we're doing one side. I was curious, I didn't truly know the
I
answer.
mean, the south side of the street on the avenue, I can sweep that, just like this weekend. I swept both sides through the whole parade route 2 times on Monday morning.
I mean, I think you guys do fantastic.
But if we can get the problem is to get parking off the street.
Yeah.
Even now, knowing that it's twice a month and we post signs 2 days in advance, we still have problems getting people moving their cars. Chief had to go down, last week, move about 10 or 12 of them, and that was at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So, I mean, we'll do whatever, you guys want us to do. Ladies. It's just, it was a game plan to start off, I mean.
Well, I'd say, Rick, just evaluate it, see,
Yeah.
see how dirty it gets, what needs to be done.
Or could we do a base?
Place.
Could we do like a base clean on both sides of the street and then see where it goes from there? Because I've seen the same complaints about
I was gonna say, that's really the only complaint is the one side.
the south side is getting, and I understand the north side is getting beat up more
Right.
because that's where it's coming in at. But,
I mean,
I'm
we want me
flip flopping
to
my,
see if we can do it. I mean, I can post the south side, all they have to do is just get hold of the sweeper guy. So we take one of our north sides away and put it on the south side, say like the fourth Friday of the month, have them do the south side.
that's gonna be a confusing sign that you put up there.
No, it's gonna be, I'll have it posted, no parking, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Temporary signs.
Place, temporary signs, yeah. And we'll just have to cover, I mean, I've already got the signs up.
Well, we should definitely do both sides at least once, and then if one side's getting beat more than the other on a monthly basis, we should take care of
I
that
don't know if I
side.
can get the sweeper guy to come in 3 times 1 month.
We talked about this, and you said that the reason you just do one side is that generally is where all the mud and rocks are trapped.
When it comes
By
out,
the time they come back to the city, that's
pretty much, yeah.
it's off their tires, they're not bringing back in. There are still rocks.
I mean, there's gonna be because of the condition of Route 8 to begin with.
Right.
But as far as things really coming off the truck, I mean, I don't see it personally, but, I mean, both sides get dirty, but not.
There,
like
it's
that.
just not as bad as it is on the
Right,
south
north side.
but on the north side. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how, we'd have to put up, change signs or something. We want to do it, or you can just let me do it, and I can sweep the avenue with our broom. I can just pick a day and.
The avenue's not the one that's getting beat up, it's the Fourth Street past.
Yeah, I don't
past Barry.
know if my sweeper will sweep 4th Street because it's too rough. I mean, all those patches they put in, that's where a lot of that blacktop's coming from. Just from those patches they repaired and didn't seal it and stuff.
We can talk to Stark, they're the ones, they're providing the services to clean up the streets, so why don't you and I talk with Stark and see whether they can
Okay. Well,
do
it's
one
Alan.
day a month at least to the other side.
I don't think Stark has anything. It's Alan, the guy that I introduced you to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, he's still logged in, Stark now.
Yeah, Stark. I guess.
But yeah,
Stark's
he's,
coming.
Mark Stark's no longer, he sold his interest in that. Okay. Right.
Yeah, we may be able to get some work done that way.
Why don't we all in a meeting talk about that?
So we'll have a meeting to discuss both sides of the street and make sure that both sides are clean.
Yeah, see if they can, do that. But they're doing this at no charge, so, I mean, but at least they should be able, hopefully they'll be able to accommodate us, just talk to them about this.
Okay. Yeah.
Good, so expect that meeting.
Other than that, that's all I have in this question.
Any other questions for Mr. Lucas, council?
I just want to point out, last week you talked about first responders. Public Works is just as much of a first responder, 24/7, 365. And again, this spring, you're shorthanded with none of the volunteers from the county inmates. And Public Works is operating shorthanded, yet the town looks great. And I know it's been a good spring for grass growing and trying to keep up with that, and all the work in Sergeant Park and the flags and the avenue and the yellow, no parking. I commend you and your staff. When's the last time you had a day off, sir?
It's been a while. Holiday, I guess.
We're telling him he's gotta take some days off before, he's gonna waste his vacation days if he doesn't take them.
You only got a month,
They
man.
go away.
Yeah, I'll take some time off. I'm gonna start taking every other day, I think, for a while. It's not worth it when you take a whole week and you get so far behind.
No, your staff's doing a great job.
Oh, yeah,
It's noticed and appreciated, sir.
I mean, I cut the plug off 3 times last month.
Yeah, you did the park extra for our event too, so you guys, fantastic job.
Yeah, it's growing.
It's growing. Anybody else for Mr. Lucas? Thank you for your time, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Patterson?
So everybody has my report. It's been busy.
Good.
Grass is growing like crazy. Just kind of just doing a lot of, you know, driving around, seeing what needs to be fixed, what, you know. That's about it. We're working on the top 10. We've got some promising things going on with that.
Right.
They're still kind of under wraps, but
We're gonna discuss that a little bit in executive session, so.
Okay.
Is it more
Yeah.
versus
So-
more property?
it's looking good. Yeah, it's coming along. So, any questions?
How many reports, we put that online code enforcement reporting form?
A lot.
You're getting a lot,
Yes,
good.
a lot.
Good. 'Cause-
I'd say probably about 10 a week.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we get a lot. We get a lot of phone calls. We get a lot of, people just will email or they'll call Donna. But I'd say on the anonymous, I'd say about, it depends. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes it's kind of the same person. I never really got on there myself and sent anything, but it must be, like sometimes it's doubled. You know, like they think, oh, I don't know if that went through or not, you know, so. Yeah, people send pictures. It's great. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. So, and working with Rick, he's been a champ with the grass cutting. It's a lot. It's a lot to keep up with, as far as, because I have to send it to Rick, then he has to send me a bill, then we send it to Tiffany, and it's kind of a process, a long process. So, yeah. Any questions?
You all have a report? Any other questions?
Yep.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
quick response.
Sure.
Ms. Patterson?
Thank you. I wanted to tell you also, I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of changed up this a little bit. So if you look on the case date, if it's confusing, that's when the original case started, and we just kind of build on that case. So if you're seeing a date, you know, last month or something like that, that's, yeah, what that is. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Alphabetical order, Mr. Yoder, you're probably used to that.
Ever since I started grade school. Me and Catherine Sook were always sitting next to each other. So hello. So economic development report, one thing I hope you guys have noticed is all the new businesses that we have opening up. Last month we had No Advisors, Taqueria Legal, America's Foot Center, today Horton's Barbershop, where I got these fine locks trimmed. On the 7th, we'll have the Glow Beauty Shop at 619 6th Avenue will be opening up. So that's good. I got 2 more coming in later this summer, we talked about before. So, I mean, we're going to probably have 7 to 8 new businesses in the next few months opening up here. So I think we're coming off the pandemic nice and strong. One of my challenges is getting more buildings opened up. We've got, I don't know if you've seen all the construction going on, the new windows in at 501 6th Avenue, gutter work at the chiropractor's office. So not only do we have business, the dentist office is going under a rehab right now. So the old Eagles is going under a rehab. That, so if something happens there, probably it's August, September timeframe, hopefully. So a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of activity. So I think we're doing well. We're coming off this pandemic strong. Other things that happened this month, the street mural at 6th and Main, I thought it looked great. We had about 20 volunteers come out there on a hot day and painted up before it looked good for Memorial Day. I got a nice tan that day. It was really good. So it looks good. Some Main Street thing. We've appointed 2 new members to the Main Street Board. Alejandro Flores and Greg Wilcher, two business owners on the street. We have 2 more going in there, so we're up to 7 right now. We're allowed to go 5, 7, or 9. Sometimes somebody goes off, we fall down to 6 or 4, we fill that up, so that goes there. Some grant updates. The SRTS TAP grant, Streetscape, Dayton Pike. We've talked about this for 11 years. Contract should be signed next month with work starting in July. So after the fiscal year, that's moving along fine.
Hey, Bob, just
Okay.
second on that. Any kind of an idea on the completion of that project? I know they're gonna start in mid-July. Any kind of an idea of 3, 4, 5 months?
I would, this season, so by this fall, it'll be done this fall. So, but yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna say 2 or 3 months, unless you run into something, knock on whatever this is, old streets, but yeah, that's been going fine. I received a crumb rubber grant, for benches, 8 benches, we're using at, Jamestown Pike Park and Sergeant Park. So that's about $3,700 there, so that will be going in there. Those will be nice. Something with the RTP, we had Target called us up and they had 6 workers that wanted to work in Sergeant Park, so they worked there Friday the same day we did the street mural, so that was busy running back and forth. But they had a great time coming up there. And we talked to, and Rick talked about it. You could have finished, Rick. I mean, it doesn't, whoever goes first. But the plumbing is all done on our end. So, and we're looking to connect the lateral, so our lateral to their sewer. So they're staging equipment, they've got pipes up there, so they should be starting the next few days, should be done within a week. And exactly what day, I don't know, but I know it'll be on Facebook that something's blocking Covert Run, you know. But, so we'll have that connection in there, and we will open our restrooms up again, and we'll be able to, I put bathroom improvements into the grant, so we'll be able to take, put that against our grant, and we'll get 80% reimbursement on that. So that's really good. It's really good that actually came in line at the same time. So that we're going on there. Another thing on RTP, submitted last Friday the grant for the canoe and kayak put in. We'll see what happens with that. We already have an RDP grant, so we get negative points on that. But I like to try to submit grants when we can, keep on doing it. So when we're finally full, we get all the full points, we're going to do that. Had our first, we had both in-person bar and Main Street meetings last month down at the Community Meeting Center. Those went well. So everything's going on well, and the Board of Architecture Review is putting together a list of properties for historic preservation awards. So they've been working on that, finding properties. If you go to their Facebook page and you have somebody who like a building you think that merits an award, you can post it there. Any questions?
Can you explain to us what the RFP points are? You said we lost some.
Okay, so everything gets, I had to pull up the whole grant to go over everything. So there's different, how long the trail is, what your match is, you get different points. There is a negative 5 points if you have a recreational trails grant in process. So in the parlances that I told is spread it all around. So you have to get a really good project. So we get a negative 5 points because we have for Sergeant Park as our RTP grant that's open. So there's 100 points. So the maximum score we could get is 95. So somebody that gives an advantage to somebody who maybe hasn't had a recreational trails grant ever, or doesn't have one over, hasn't had one in a while. So that in these grant things, there is some element, a lot of especially state grants, because they try to spread it around different communities. If not, I think we go to Louisville or Lexington, because I mean they can have more, they have more things there. So that's one of the ways they do stuff to move stuff around. So just because you have, you know, a little bit of a governor on you, hold you back a bit. I've still gotten grants when I've had that, so it doesn't mean you don't do it. I'm just saying you're walking, understanding that, it's gonna be a little bit harder for us this time. But I'm always for, it's like the Sergeant Park grant. I submitted that at least twice before we finally got it outside, The crumb rubber grant, that's a great example. You think for a second, I got park benches made out of crumb rubber. That one is actually very competitive. I submitted it 3 years before I finally got it this year. So I just kept on, every year, like clockwork, you keep on submitting, you try to hone it
So are
down.
you gonna work with the park board to figure out like the placement of those benches?
We've already talked about that, yeah. So, the park board can go exactly where they want to put them. But one thing I like about these, they're relatively indestructible, it seems. I guess you're doing a baseball bat, the rubber sort of bounce back, and they're very heavy. So, I'm not worried about somebody walking off of this. But they do this, they're very strong. They're very, very strong. So they're nice, good, heavy. So I think they're really good for those situations. I'll be honest, I'll show you pictures of them. They may not be the most attractive park bench you've ever seen in your life. Those Stewart Ironworks fancy ones are far more attractive. These are a lot more solid, but I really think they work well in that type of environment. Okay?
I have a question. Who's going to maintain the paintings down there by the VFW?
We're looking at it, we have some extra paint, so one of our thoughts was to touch it up every May. So
Do we seal it at all?
we didn't seal it this time, we were talking about sealing it next time. This is kind of an experiment for us. The red, I'll be honest with you, the red did not cover, the blue and white covered beautifully, the red did not, and that's just problems with red.
I just didn't know who's responsible to update that.
It's us, the Main Street, we were talking about coming back every year. Right
Be
before-
Main Street?
Yeah,
Okay.
pull another column there, tape it off, paint what needs to be touched up, and go from there. But, the white is the white, tires are gonna go over it, it's like white stop lines. And, the red, I honestly didn't cover as well as I would like, I'd like some more red. And I think that's just the problem, not with the paint itself, but with the red pigment. It doesn't, if you paint a room red or something like that, if you've ever painted a room red, you hated that. It just doesn't cover as well as other colors. The blue covers very solid, the white very solid. So I can see some points that the red is going to be a challenge. But we have some more paint left over, so we have to touch some stuff up. And at the end of winter, next spring we'll look at it and see how it does, and we'll go from there. But it was a fun project, and it looked great.
Oh, I loved it. I just didn't know who had to maintain it.
It's us,
Okay.
but generally we look at it and just the process of painting it. The hardest part I think was putting down the tape, but the process of painting it was pretty easy. I mean, you had a bunch of amateurs. Rachel, I should give a call out to State Rep Rachel Roberts. She came down and painted for a while, and it was a good time. Like I said, and I also need to give a thanks to Galactic Chicken who sent us a bunch of chicken tenders for lunch, and that was great too. So I want to give our Main Street businesses supporting that. And July 3rd, we're going to have an Independence Pirate celebration down at 6 in Berry. And we've got Greg on our Main Street board is working on that. He's got like 41 vendors.
Yeah.
We have last year, right before COVID, we were going to have a spring carnival where we were going to rent out some inflatables, and we had to shut that down because of 2020. So we still have that, so we'll have some inflatables down there and a bunch of games. So it should be a good family-friendly day on July 3rd. So we'll have a little Pirate Independence Day celebration, so that'll be good. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions for Mr. Yoder?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yoder, for your report, sir. Moving right along. Spoke with a council member this month who said he'd like for audience participation to kind of be a little twofold. So One where we would have any open comments or concerns regarding upcoming legislation, because we're about to enter the upcoming legislation part of the agenda. And the other for open comments at the end. So we're about to enter the upcoming legislation, first reading, second readings, all that good stuff. So if anybody has any comments that they'd like to make on first or second readings of this legislation, the opportunity is yours now to address council. So if there's any public comments. Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Todd Blevins. I'm the Kentucky State Director with the Humane Society of the United States. I had reached out to Mr. Fawcett to ask to speak tonight on behalf of, I forget the item number, but the city's consideration of repealing its ban on particular breeds of dogs. And he granted that request. Thank you very much, Mr. Fawcett. So I just wanted to briefly speak to you tonight. So as you may have come to find in Dayton in 15 or so years since the ban's been in place, breed bans and other breed-specific legislation don't work for a number of reasons. The primary reason is that they call on animal control officers or other law enforcement officers to determine whether a certain dog is of a particular breed simply based on the looks. So they're called upon to look at that dog and determine whether that is in fact, say, a pit bull. And as you may hear from other law enforcement or animal control, no officer wants to be put in that position where they may have to remove a family pet with no behavioral issues from a home simply because of the way it looks. But furthermore, that dog, if it's been removed, it's then shunted to a shelter in a community that doesn't have such a ban. And that then takes up kennel space, resources, and so on that could otherwise go towards dogs in that shelter that truly don't have a home. Or worse, the dog might be euthanized for a lack of space or because it has a certain stigma attached to it because of the ban. And plus, as you may have also come to find in Dayton, it's nearly impossible to keep an entire breed out of a city altogether, as seen in instances where pet owners will keep certain animals in spite of the ban and run the risk. I'm not sure if you have that going on in Dayton, but it is fairly commonplace in communities with such bans. There's also the fact that breed bans have a real economic cost. I know that Dayton is a growing community, and that's something that I'm sure is top of mind for you in all matters, not just matters related to animals. The longer that the ban's in place, the longer the city then runs the risk of turning away potential residents who may choose not to live in a community where their dog is not actually accepted. And plus, by making the city more welcoming to dogs, you by extension make it more welcoming to their owners, which again only stands to benefit an already growing city like Dayton. Now, I do want to be clear, it's important for the city to have regulations in place for dogs and dog owners to maintain public safety, because that is, of course, one of your foremost jobs, as it is with Chief Halford. The issue that is on the agenda tonight is whether a regulation targeted at a specific breed accomplishes that goal, and the evidence shows that it doesn't. In fact, in communities where this has been tried time and time again, no community has been able to show a marked increase in public safety or a significant drop in dog biting incidents as a result of a breed ban or other breed-specific regulation. Instead, the most effective approach centers around basic confinement and restraint laws applied consistently to all dog owners, regardless of breed, in combination with providing access to services like spay-neuter or behavioral training. And I should also point out in the past 2 years, both Ludlow and Bellevue have repealed their breed bans, and they've joined hundreds of other communities across the country that have, by taking that step, made their communities more welcoming and inclusive. And I would say tonight is the perfect time for Dayton to join that list, to begin the process to join that list. And then lastly, just briefly, I used to be a deputy city manager myself in a past life. And the question that was always at the top of our minds, as I'm sure it is for you, is how do we want to make this somewhere people want to be, somewhere people want to live, work, and play? And I would argue that by taking this step tonight and potentially repealing the breed ban, you're doing exactly that. So thank you, Mayor.
Do you have any questions for our guest tonight?
What is considered the most deadly breed of dog in the United States?
I think that's a very wide-ranging question, Council Member. There are times where certain breeds do bite. I mean, but it's not It's not limited to just one specific breed.
It's the pit bull.
I,
248 deaths in the past 13 years.
sure.
The next is the Rottweiler, 45. The next is the German Shepherd, 20. That's by deaths.
Sure.
What is your source, Councilman?
I have a number of sources. Canine Journal, ASPCA, Forbes Magazine, Inside Dog World, National Canine Research Council. There's 20 or 30 of them.
And all list that as pit bulls being
The most deadly breed, by breed, by breed.
Well, Councilmember, if I may, what I would say in response to that is, I talked about research in my testimony. There was a study done in 2014 by the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association, and they studied that particular issue. Does a certain breed bite more than others? That was the premise of the study. And they found that it wasn't. What they found instead was that it's individual circumstances. So it's failing to provide spay-neuter for your animal. It's failing to confine your animal properly, as I said, to where a dog gets loose or is not even, confined at all. So, I appreciate that you mentioned, sources and such, but I want to point that out because, when you're talking the American Veterinary Medical Association, these are the folks that are the true experts in this issue.
No, I agree with that finding.
Sure.
I think the problem is, and this other research that I have here also points out that the pit bull is among the top of the most abused breeds of dogs in the United States.
Sure.
Thus, going back to your individual care and those kinds of things, that becomes out of our control.
So maybe this council tonight, but I think you have other agencies within the community that it's certainly not out of their control. You have, for instance, your county animal control and county animal shelter. The services that they provide, often go totally unnoticed. But, working with animal control agencies and shelters across the state all the time, I can tell you that they want to ensure public safety just as much as this body does. And again, I don't want to give you the impression that this is some, lofty, touchy-feely issue. It just doesn't work when you follow the evidence. Communities as large as Denver to as small as, you name a community, have tried this, and it doesn't result in a decrease in dog bites. So I can understand the argument, but again, I think you have to follow where the evidence takes you.
I think the most shocking piece of research that I found, and this actually, I was just like I said, it's the most shocking piece, is that the reason that people own dogs, companionship is not among the top 4 reasons. And I found that astounding. Breeding, guarding, protecting, fighting, and to enhance personal status are the top 4 reasons reported by the SPCA for owning a dog, which I was shocked about that. So, I guess that goes back to that vet report that you talked about, this personal, caring of the animal. And I had animals for 30 years, dogs for 30 years. My grandkids have 2 dogs, and I love them both. But I guess that was probably the most shocking piece of research that I found.
Sure.
Was that dogs are owned for those reasons.
Councilman, I don't want to go on ad nauseum about that, but I don't have that data in front of me, but that finding would shock me. It truly would. Being in the business that I'm in, that just seems to run counter to everything that everything that we study, everything we've read. But again, I know that's not the sole focus of tonight. I just wanted to briefly respond to that.
Works, man. Just 2 points of clarification. This is a first reading.
Correct.
And I'm sure next month is going to be very exciting because there'll be all kinds of opinions on both sides of it, extreme opinions on both sides of it. That's the first clarification we want to make. Second clarification, so what is your title and organization again?
Yes, sir. I'm the Kentucky State Director of the Humane Society of the United States. I live in Richmond, so I'm sorry, I'm not a Dayton resident.
Not a problem. Just wanted to make that clear for
Yes,
the
sir.
record. And your statements tonight about any specific ordinances, et cetera, and their lack of effectiveness, is that your personal opinion, or is that the official opinion of your Humane Society?
No, sir, it's not my, I wouldn't be speaking just on my personal opinion.
I'm trying to clarify.
Yes,
that.
sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the position of our organization, but I should point out, it's not just our organization, it's the AVMA, as I mentioned to the councilman, it's the National Animal Care and Control Association, it's the American Kennel Club. I mean, you can find groups, you know, it's State Farm Insurance, who doesn't discriminate by breed in offering insurance policies. So, sorry, that's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I'm just trying to establish the facts here.
Yes, sir.
And who's representing which side of this, because as I said, I know there's gonna be a lot of opinions and facts and data and everything on both sides, and I just wanna make it for the record as far as what, this is your organization, and this is your organization's stance on this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So all the organizations that you just listed, I'm not sure if that's a complete list. Is there a way that we could have this, what you said, sent to us?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would like to kind of review all.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'd be happy to send you other organizations. I'd be happy to send you my testimony, whatever you'd like. I can see Mr. Foss is taking notes, so
If
I'll
you
be sure to
check
get
Mr.
that.
Fawcett, we can distribute to the council.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess I just have a comment. I know that Bellevue is right next to us, and they removed, or they changed their law like 2 years ago.
Last year.
Last year?
2020,
I
yeah.
haven't heard any incidents regarding people.
I don't follow Bellevue.
Okay, I haven't. I do, so I haven't, but I haven't heard anything.
Sure. And just on that note, I should point out that in communities that have repealed their bans, there is a concern that, you know, the floodgates will open, so to speak, but in reality, that doesn't happen. You don't suddenly see a spike in incidents because, again, the breed ban itself doesn't, it does not contribute to a decrease in dog runs alone. So.
I'm listening to Jeff, and I know he's got an idea, but then from my daughter and her whole millennial, generation and other people, I know that that's really popular dog.
It is.
And a lot of her friends have, and I know a lot of them are in Bellevue, and so I kind of probably wouldn't really have thought much about it, but I know a lot of younger people have them, and it does, I know several incidences personally that people didn't either buy or rent here because of that ordinance, because they didn't want to hide their dog.
Sure.
So, I think it is something to consider,
Sure.
when trying to create a welcoming place, so it's.
I mean, yeah, we all have personal relationships and feelings, and if I'm walking down 6th Avenue and the pit bull's coming towards me, my personal reaction is to walk across the street.
Sure.
Whether it's on a leash or not. I would go up to you and talk to you and pet your dog. I would not go up to somebody that's got a pit bull on a leash and pet their dog. I would not do it.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's my personal,
Yeah.
my personal feelings, you
Right.
know. Has nothing to do with the ordinance or the way it is. I'm just saying, I will not be on the same side of the street with a pit bull. That's me.
Right.
That's not you.
If I may, just to follow up on Mr. Neer, you're correct, Mr. Neer's question. I should say, this is also my personal opinion. I don't want you to think I'm just, speaking on behalf of the organization. I obviously wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing if I didn't also believe in it. So
Understood.
part of my
Oh,
interruption.
no, you're good, you're good. I just wanted to make the point of, in the city of Dayton, I think this hasn't been brought up even since I've been on council because we didn't really hear of people reporting. Like, I didn't get any reports saying that this many pit bulls were seized and euthanized or taken away out of Dayton or taken away from their families. But recently we saw a report where our animal control approached a family that had a cane corso. And if you know what a cane corso is, it actually kind of looks like a beefier pit bull, if you will. Not the most, kind of a scary looking dog, but it's not on our ban list. And that family had to get a DNA test to prove that their dog wasn't a pit bull. And the fact that, like, I recently had a neighbor that had the most blatant pit bull I've ever seen, and it was out in the yard for the 3 years that I lived there, and nothing was done to that dog, and I'm like, well, we must not enforce it, because that dog was out every single day. He would get loose, he'd come over to my yard, and I grabbed that dog by the collar, I walked him back, he became my friend because he was a visible part of the neighborhood, and people got to know the dog. So there was no problem, so no one called on this pit bull, because there were no problems with it. So the ability to actually have them enforce this seems really tough, and a bad place to be able to put these people in, of taking people's family dogs away.
You know,
So-
Scott, I agree with you, it's tough to enforce. There are a lot of laws that are tough to enforce. That doesn't mean we do away with them. It's hard to enforce catching people selling drugs, it's hard to enforce that law. But we don't do away with it. It's hard to catch them.
This is a discriminatory pit bull ban. We're not getting rid of all dogs. If you were arguing to like get rid of all dogs in Dayton for public safety,
No, I am not.
okay, then Rottweilers or Cane Corsos or
I will argue against increasing the number of dogs in our city.
I think we're getting off the rails here, gentlemen. This is the first reading. Next month is, or.
Yeah, I'm
whenever
just
the
trying to
second-
make some points while we have a professional in the room. I don't know if he's gonna be here next month. He drove up from Richmond, so I'm
Well,
just
I'm
trying
sure
to.
all the, I'm sorry, Scott. You're passed all your information to City Administrator Fawcett. I presume.
Yes, but I mean,
Yeah, you can.
I will say if it helps the council, I'm happy to come again next month.
Well, whenever we do the second reading.
Or part,
Yeah,
yes.
and I do want, I am open-minded, as we talked about earlier. I do want professional data rather than emotional data.
Sure.
Because we're making a decision that will be difficult to go back on. So rather than go into all, we could argue for another 2 hours here just among ourselves, let alone the 30 people that may show up when the second reading is. I appreciate your data and your perspective on it, I really do.
Sure.
And I think we need more of that from different organizations as well as citizens on both sides of the coin.
Mr. Mayor, we do have a meeting in 2 weeks, and I don't know if that's something we want to do for the second meeting in 2 weeks, because we have to pass the budget, or we can do it next month. I don't know what the pleasure is in terms of having a second meeting. So-
Well, I was gonna make a suggestion when we do the first reading on that issue, sir.
There's no suggestions.
When, after we do the first reading, I was gonna say, and I'll say it now that since it's been asked, I'm in no hurry on this, Scott. This is a very contentious among some parties. As I said to you outside, it's very polarized on both sides. I want to get more opinions and more data. I'm fine with doing the first reading tonight, but I would like to form a committee of council and professionals such as yourselves or our animal control officer to really get all of the information to all of council so we don't end up here with 3 hours of people yelling at each other when the time does come for the second reading. I know we haven't had many committees, we've not needed to, but I think on an issue like this needs to be explored all the way. I don't have all my answers yet to be able to vote that. So on that point, after the first reading tonight, if we're doing a second meeting because of the budget, we can just do the budget whenever
That'd be a special meeting.
that'd be a special meeting.
No, we're conducting our
Regularly
regularly scheduled second meeting on the third Tuesday of this month.
I'm saying I don't want to rush the second reading
Well, then
because,
during the second meeting, sir, you'd be able to have an opportunity to table that. If you hadn't had the information that
if it's on the agenda, yes.
correct, but if it goes, tonight's just the first reading, all it is.
Right.
So,
What
two
I'm-
Tuesdays from now, you'd have an opportunity to table it if you hadn't had the information you received yet.
Well, and I'm not done with that because of the agenda issue, I'm sorry, I apologize. Mr. Mayor, you make up the agenda, not the council. You can put that on the agenda, a second reading, at any time you want, okay? It doesn't
I don't
have
know
to
about
be,
that, can I?
it does not have to be at the very next meeting. My point is, let's not rush this until all of us are satisfied that we have all of the information.
I would interject that you also don't write the agenda, so.
I'm asking him.
Right, so you can put it on whenever, and he's, like he said, you can choose to try to table it.
Understood.
So
I'm just
it's
pointing out
something-
that it doesn't have to be,
Right.
a second reading doesn't have to be the next meeting after a first reading on any ordinance.
Right.
I think you know how I take the role of mayor, and I always give council members an opportunity to put things on the agenda.
Understood, agreed.
This is something that Member Baszler championed, and we put on the agenda.
Right.
So if you think you need more time than 2 weeks to research this, and I would recommend you would, then we can push it off to July's council member, or meeting, as a second reading to begin with. If that's what you're requesting, you're saying this is such a deep subject that you need to do more research into. And if that's what you're saying, then I would recommend you do that.
That's basically what I'm saying. I'm also asking that we have a committee of a few, at least.
Who are you suggesting as a committee, sir?
I'll take volunteers. As far as council, we can only have 3 at maximum. I'd like to involve some professionals that have this data. I'd also like to involve the police chief, because they're the ones that have to deal with first responders.
All right, so it sounds like you want a committee. So let's put a committee together, a breed-specific ban committee. Member Neary, you are a member of that. We need 3. So Member Baszler, since you recommended this, would you like to be on a committee?
No, thank you.
Who else would like to be on a committee? Member Neiman would like to be on a committee. Third? What's that?
I'll do it.
Member Kelly would also like to be on a committee. Now, Mr. Hatfill, you threw you under the bus, sir. Sounds like you'll be an advisor to the committee.
Like I said, I just enforce the laws.
I understand what you do, sir. All right, so there's your committee.
And
I would imagine that you should have at least 1 or 2 meetings between July, whatever the first Tuesday of July is. Then, what's that?
July 1.
July 1. And if you'd like to involve the American Humane Society, correct?
Humane Society of the United States, yes, sir.
I imagine they would be happy to give you data, meet with you.
If I may make a recommendation, Mayor, I think it
Of
would
course you
also
may.
be appropriate to have your county animal control,
Terry
some
Baker.
representation.
Her name is Terry Baker. Yeah, so, does that please you, sir?
Pleases me. No, I think it's the due diligence that we need to do.
Well, then the due diligence is there, and it will not be on the agenda for the next Tuesday, 2 Tuesdays from now.
Understood.
It'll be at the earliest in July.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other comments regarding this first reading?
I have a question, and Chief, you probably don't have the answer, but you can probably get it to me on the animal complaint. I see that we have 13 for May. Are you aware of any dog attacks that we've had in Dayton that?
No, I can look into the narratives of specific CADs. I know we've had a couple on day shift where I think we did have one incident that there was a pit bull got out of the yard and was chasing a neighbor's dog. It was easily taken back in control and nothing else happened.
No kids attacked by any?
No, it's just mainly dogs getting loose.
And that's, okay.
Yeah.
May I interject, Councilwoman?
Yes.
Just briefly, I would argue that if you do have pit bull incidents within the city, then it defeats the purpose of the entire ban, because technically folks aren't supposed to have pit bulls to begin with.
Correct, and that's why I just wanted to verify if there was any other breed, like if we had any.
We aren't supposed to have drugs within our city.
I was gonna say,
either.
but personally, I feel like a Rottweiler is probably worse than a pit bull, by my personal experience, which I almost got mauled about a month ago, 2 blocks from my house. So I was just curious if we've had any dog attacks on any breed in Dayton.
Yeah, I'd have to look into the narrative a little bit more.
I mean, I have a Yorkie poo, and I think it's probably worse than any other big dog. I mean, it's evil.
Well, about raising them now.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Neiman.
I'd just like to say that before this came out, I've noticed there are a lot of pit bulls in Dayton. So this isn't something that we're allowing them, we're talking about allowing them to come in there, but either they're, I don't know what they're doing. They're
Should
walking
report.
them at night or keep, I don't know what they're doing.
Well, this
If I
kinda
see
goes back
walking
to
the dog,
the-
I see them like, there's one, and,
Report them, it's against the law.
yeah.
That's
but
what I would do.
I don't see them in a yard, I see them sometimes walking around, or, I really don't know one in a yard, but they're around. And so,
Sure they're around.
it isn't, I don't know, but they are, so.
Well, we've not had any attacks by pit bulls.
No,
On
and
any
if we,
kids or
if we're on a
any-
call or something like that, and we do have a pit bull that we come across, we do contact Terry, or we have to, find another family member that can take the dog. We don't want it to go to the animal shelter because, I don't think the animal shelter can take them anymore because they're just so full. We try to find another means, and we work with Terry, and it kind of works that way. That's how we've been dealing with this situation, so.
Well, this is the first reading. Do we have any other questions or comments? I appreciate your time, sir. Safe travels back in Richmond.
Oh, Mayor, if I briefly may
Of
ask the
course.
logistics of the committee, I mean, as much as I love coming to Dayton, I'm not
You
sure if
can
I
do
can
it
come
by
every
video.
week.
Would you like to do it by Teams, Zoom,
Okay,
whatever?
I'm happy to do
Mr.
that. I just
Uriel,
wanted
think he likes
to
that
confirm
Teams
the law
account.
association, so.
Then we can, however you'd like to do
All
that,
right.
video or whatever is fine.
All right, thank you all for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, anybody else like to address council regarding upcoming legislation? And we're closing at 3, 2, and 1. All right, we're moving on to legislation. So tonight we have a second reading of number 2021, number 5, also going back to animals. This is ordinance amending the animal license fee. Can I please have a reading, Ms. Myers?
City of Dayton, Kentucky ordinance number 2020, number 5, an ordinance rescinding ordinance section 91.03, which established an animal license fee.
That was the second reading. I have a motion regarding 2021, number 5.
I'll make the motion for 2021.
Pardon. Member Lovins made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh, you got it. Good job.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Member Neiman has a second. Do we have any comments regarding 2021, number 5? Closing comments? I'm sorry.
I think it's ironic timing with the other topic we were discussing at the same time, and this is another instance where we're eliminating a law because no one's following it. I understand the cost benefit, to the city administration, but quite frankly, there's been years that I forgot to get a license for my dog because I couldn't get to the city building between 9 and 4. I think it's been very difficult for people to, and a lot of people move in with dogs and don't realize that you need to have a license. So I just find it ironic that, as you mentioned before, we're rescinding a law because it's not being followed.
According to the mayor,
Yes, sir.
we have 32 registered dogs in the city of Dayton.
Mine is.
32. We only got 32 dogs in this city.
I'm guilty, I did not know this was an ordinance.
I most certainly registered Titan, and he wears a cute little blue heart on his collar. But if I understand the way this is going, he probably will not move.
Well, didn't Donna say that a lot of communities and towns had gotten rid of this?
Yeah, we're one of the last ones that still do it.
Yeah, it was kind of her recommendation.
She said administratively, it's a lot of work for very little.
Exactly.
She looked at the economics of it.
I think we probably make $20 a year or something like that after you buy it. So we have at City Hall, not a bucket, but might as well be a bucket of dog tags. And we probably go through 32. And they're $5 or whatever they are. And so you do the math on that. There's really no money to be made. And she seems it's an administrative burden on her.
See, I understand the burden and the money part, but my assumption was that those tags were there to basically track the number of animals per household.
We don't have cat tags, sir.
I understand that, but we did, I think it was originally done to track the number of dogs each household has. And again, no way of knowing,
We also have a cat limit.
no way of knowing. I understand that.
Cats don't wear tags. I don't know why they got away with that.
I don't know either.
My cat wears a tag
Really?
and a belt
Well, that makes sense because they can sneak up on you.
and a always has.
Good to hear.
So I was doing research on, on the dog ordinance. A lot of what I was reading was mentioning licensing fees as a mechanism rather than breed-specific ordinances, but if we aren't doing any tracking with the licensing fees or following up on it, then it's actually not a good, alternative, or we're not using it as a mitigation measure. So, we're just basically buying some tags and not doing anything else with them, so it doesn't seem like it's.
They do when you register your animal, your dog, because it's not your fish, it's your dog. At the city building, they ask the breed, and they don't do a blood test on the animal.
Right, but if we've only got 32%.
Not 32%.
You've got 32
32
dogs,
dogs.
and then we have no way to follow up, what are we gonna, go knocking on
I was
doors?
gonna say,
and
how
asking
would you
people how many
police
dogs-
that?
We could ask Chief Hatfield if he could expend all his man hours on it. I don't think got anything better to do, sir. So that is a second reading. We've had a motion, we have a second, we have some comments. Do we have any more comments regarding number 2021, number 5?
I have one more. I believe that the county still has their dog tag ordinance, so this does, I just want to remind everybody, this would not relieve dog owners from the need to get a county license.
Thank you for the reminder. I'll be at the county tomorrow. Any other comments regarding 2021? All right, we've had a first, we had a second. Comments are being closed in 3, 2, 1. Can I get a roll call, please, Ms. Myers?
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Member Kelly?
Aye.
Member Lovins?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Nay.
Member Neary?
No.
The ayes have it, 4-2. We'll be happy. Moving along to the second reading of 2021, number 6, it's an ordinance repealing section 37.08 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances and enacting an updated section 37.08 and new sections 37.09 and 37.10 involving abandoned urban property and blighted and deteriorated property within the city. May I have a reading, please, Ms. Myers?
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2021, number 6, an ordinance repealing section 37.08 of the City of Dayton Code of Ordinances and enacting a new section 37.08, section 37.09, and section 37.10 to define abandoned urban property and blighted and deteriorated property in the city, creating a process to identify these types of properties in the city and notify property owners of this classification, setting a taxation rate for these properties at 75 cents per 100 of assessed value, and creating a notice, hearing, and appeal process related to this classification.
Thank you very much. Now it's been read, we have a motion to accept ordinance 2021, number 6.
Move to accept 2021, number 6.
Member Volter's made the move to accept. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Kelly. We'll open it up to the floor to comments from council and attorney, sir.
So I just wanted to point out to you that it does require the code enforcement board to meet to certify that a property is abandoned, or blighted and abandoned. It requires that the mail be sent by July 1st, so we're probably going to miss the window this year.
The board's meeting in June,
Yeah.
so I think we're gonna make.
No problem. So just, maybe at the first meeting, you're going to be there, but just, we have to make that finding first, send the certified mail, it has to be out by July 1st.
Yeah.
So the timetable was.
We plan to, they're gonna sign off on it, and we're gonna send it out to God.
Okay. Good.
Anything else, attorney?
That's it.
Thanks, sir. Do you have any comments from council regarding this order? Go ahead and close comments here in about 3, 2, and close. We have a motion, we have a second. Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Myers?
Member Kelly?
Aye.
Member Levins?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Unanimous, that passes. Agreed. Moving on right along, the first reading. Oh, you never done the first reading, so No need for arguments, unless, so. But we're gonna have a first reading on 2021, number 7. The ordinance amending 152.07, the Dayton Code of Ordinances, to update the flood damage prevention ordinance based on the Federal Emergency Management Agency's revision of the flood insurance study report and flood insurance rate map to the city of Dayton. And this is a first reading, Ms. Myers.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 7, an ordinance amending section 152.07 of the City of Dayton Code of Ordinances to update the flood damage prevention ordinance based on the Federal Emergency Management Agency's recently completed revision to the countywide flood insurance study report and flood insurance rate map for the City of Dayton and other incorporated and unincorporated areas of Campbell County.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. Moving right along to 2021, number 8. This is the ordinance amending section 91.04 of the City of Dayton Code of Ordinances to increase the number of dogs allowed in the household and repealing section 91.24 of the code involving breed-specific references in this ordinance. Ms. Myers.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance 2021, number 8, an ordinance amending section 91.04 of the City of Dayton Code of Ordinances to increase the number of dogs allowed in a household from 2 to 3 and repealing section 91.24 of the Code of Ordinances.
Again, that was the first reading. Moving right along to 2021, number 9. This is an ordinance amending the city's annual budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. This is the first reading, Ms. Myers.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2021, number 9, an ordinance amending the City of Dayton, Kentucky's annual budget for fiscal year July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, and estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the city to the full extent authorized by KRS 82.082 and interpretive case law.
First reading. Lastly, 2021, number 10, the ordinance adopting the city's annual budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Ms. Myers, first reading, please.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2021, number 10, an ordinance adopting the City of Dayton, Kentucky's annual budget for fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the city to the full extent authorized by KRS 82.082 and interpretive case law.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. Moving along to an order resolution. Now, this is order resolution 2021, number 14, Romeo. Order authorizing the mayor and city administrator to execute an agreement with Dennis Elrod and Atkins Elrod and Associates to provide services related to the preparation of applications for community development block grants, funded related services for the city of Dayton. Do I have a motion to accept?
Oh, this is an order, correct?
Yes, sir. It's an
I'll
order.
make that motion, sir.
Motion has been made by member Neary. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Member Bader's made the second. Do we have any comments regarding order resolution 2021, number 14, Romeo? No comments? 3, 2, 1. Roll call, please, Ms. Meyer.
Member Lovins? Member Basler?
Aye.
Member Bolter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Member Kelly?
Aye.
You guys have it unanimously? Passes. Moving right along. Mr. Fawcett, I'd like to invite you to give your administrator's report for this month.
Thank you. Just a little update on the silo demolition work over on 9th Street, just like the avenue, right? They're coming down apparently tomorrow, assuming the weather's appropriate, and they have the equipment they need. They put a large piece of equipment in there, heavy equipment today, but there's one other piece. Cassie went to check with them today.
Right, so their plan has changed a little bit due to equipment. So originally they were gonna go inside the silo and kind of break it out. They can't get the equipment because of, I guess with COVID, that the machinery is all out. So what they're gonna do now is they're gonna start at the way they explained it to me, they're gonna kind of start at the top, cut a little bit and try to knock it over and hope that the rest goes in. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, which is a good thing because that should keep down on the dust. They don't plan for dust, they put up some tarps, I don't know if you saw that. It's been kind of this company, they actually work for the railroad, so they really, I mean, they know what they're doing, they've had it all inspected and all this stuff. It's just the equipment, trying to get the equipment in that they need, it's just not coming. So they've kind of had to change plans, because I was down there today and talked to the guys, they have to be in Florida next week, so, for another job, so they're trying to come up with different plans, but the plan is to take it down, they hope tomorrow.
One group of
Thursday.
contractors will do that.
Yeah.
One different one will do the removal, right?
Right, so then next week they'll start the removal, and then it should be a done deal. But I'm gonna be down there tomorrow, so I'll be watching them
So
closely.
apparently the steel work was a little bit bigger job than
Yes, the
anticipated.
steel was a little bit worse than what they thought. I think when they got up there and they started chopping things apart and things like that, it was
Who knows what they're gonna find in the
a lot
concrete?
more than what they expected. So, yeah, so they're gonna leave a little spot open for people, if anybody wants to watch. They're supposed to start around 10 o'clock, I think. Depending, they were still there at almost 5 o'clock waiting for another piece of machinery that they were supposed to have at noon, so hopefully they get it. But, I mean, it's
Who knows?
kinda up to, you know.
Are they planning on any dust abatement procedures other than praying for rain?
Yes, they do have a backup. So they have a water company that's on backup, so if they think that it's gonna be bad, they've had it tested for lead, tested for asbestos. They've gone through all this testing.
Right.
And they seem to think that it's not gonna it's gonna more like crumble instead of have a dust to it.
I was worried about the neighbors and their
Oh,
vehicles
yeah,
and
yeah.
their homes.
Yeah, so we went out, we gave everybody a letter and just explained what kind of was going on, if they needed to contact me or whatever.
Great.
Yeah, I've had a couple of phone calls, but nothing. But I'll be down there tomorrow, so hopefully we have no issues.
Other thing to report, last week on Everett Terrace, 2 new storm sewers were installed on 10th and Silver Street, I think that's the name of it. They were old storm sewers that, because the asphalt had about that much space, the water was able to get into, so they took the old ones out and they put new ones in to include the grader type of thing, the water where the grates catch it on the ground rather than going into the sewer itself, so that should help a little bit. And so there's going to be other improvements there. I think in the future, we've talked to SD1 about that, but those were immediate improvements that we were able to do thanks to Rick and his connection with SD1 and the Public Works Department worked with them to make that happen. So that's going to help a little bit. That won't solve all the problems, but it's a good start. And I just want to say it was in parade on Monday. It was a great event. I've never participated in it. I'm a Covington boy, so we always had parade and Memorial Day in Covington. So it was just a wonderful event, great turnout, and really cool. Very much fun.
Thanks for participating.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you. That's it.
Any questions for City Administrator Fawcett? Thank you very much, City Administrator.
Well, we will have an executive session later in the agenda.
Understood. Moving right along to the City Attorney report. Thank you, City Attorney Evanson. We would like now to open up the podium for anybody from the audience that would like to address City Council or administration. Anybody? Bueller? Call on this 1 and 3, 2, and 1. Go City Administrator, City audience. Do we have any unfinished business on the agenda that council would like to address with administration?
Did we get Mr. Fawcett a date?
Of course we gave him a date.
I have one. But
He chose to wear a Holmes hat, which is
green
okay
hat
because
did not
it was red.
match the uniform.
He's going for red, white, and blue.
I do have.
We root against Holmes.
I'm not rooting against him. I'm just saying there's a time and a place.
Only on the field. Any other unfinished business?
Well, I guess, or not unfinished business, sorry.
Any other unfinished business? All right, we're gonna move right along to new business. Ms. Kelly, Ms. Kelly.
For new business, one thing I had noticed when I would come to meetings is we have the readings of the ordinance, but it's not always like the full and complete thing. And sometimes when you hear it and if you're reading it at the same time, you can like retain it a little more and understand it a little bit better. I wondered if there was a way when we do the agenda and make that public that we could also include a little bit more detail or the ordinances for our neighbors, so everyone could see that and
Tommy
be
does.
more
That's,
informative.
here they are. All you have to do before your meeting, you can ask.
No,
them
I mean,
for
not
now.
for me.
Ah,
I
was
mean
gonna say-
for our audience,
Because-
for,
We can do that.
I was gonna say all of that.
We've never done it for the past time.
Goes on there, the full ordinance.
So Ms. Kelly, I think what you're asking is for that to be posted on the website?
We can do that.
Yeah.
no, yeah, but are they on the website? Because I didn't
No,
remember
they
seeing
haven't been, that's not been the past practice here, but we can definitely do that.
Okay.
When you all get it, we can put it out on the website as well.
If you
Yeah, I just
mark
thought
it
if
notes,
people
sir.
could actually see
Yeah.
the ordinances, that they would
Without
be
having to
able
look
to.
it up.
Right, and then they would have that information,
Sure.
that, you know, as we're discussing it and not like after the fact. When, you know, they go and look at the meeting minutes the following month, you can see it, you know, and with that information. But it's not available like in real time when the meeting's going.
Yeah, that's easy enough, we can do that, absolutely.
It's a good idea.
All right. What other great ideas do we have, council, for new business? Let's see, ordinances. Posted to website. Any other new business, council?
It's not really new business, but I'd like to just kind of put a spotlight on how much work's been getting done at Sergeant Park and how much, I mean, in the matter of a year since we opened that park, it's like night and day over there. And the landscape's changing, you're seeing some native plants coming back where honeysuckle was chopped. I mean, the honeysuckle is gonna be a continuing process up there, but I think the impact, even the lower part by the parking lot, now that it's all mulched, it's really filling in nicely. So if we can just put a little spotlight on how well the park board and all the volunteers are doing in Dayton, it's great. I think people that haven't been up to the park should definitely get up there, because I feel like they complain that there's not stuff to do, but when I was a kid, I would spend all my days in the woods. So I think we're getting the park to a safer place to where kids can be up there and enjoying the outdoors. So kudos to everyone involved.
Quite a transformation last year. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic when we did that.
Yeah.
So March of last year, we took the locks off. So here we are in June of this year. Wow, what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, it's looking better with all that chain link, unnecessary chain link fencing surrounding every bit of the forest. So
Thank you, and your agree to this department.
And on that note, I've noticed that down here in the city proper, not many cicadas. If you want to hear cicadas, walk to Sergeant Park. I mean, it's a once in 17-year experience, and they don't bite. It's amazing, that surround sound, especially on a hot afternoon.
I was up in Fort Thomas Road today, up in your neighborhood, and man, that's a completely different sound than we have down here on the end.
Absolutely. And it's right there, and it's a city park that's open now.
Better you than me. Any other new business? All right, we're gonna go ahead and close new business in 3, 2, 1. Do we have a reason for executive session? Ms. Meyer?
Yes.
So we will be closing the doors for executive session. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Do we have to read why first?
You need to tell us the 3 reasons why. You want to read those?
Yeah. The first one's executive sessions for KRS 61.810, Section B, deliberations on future acquisition of sale or real property by a public agency, but only when publicity would likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by a public agency. The second one is KRS 61.810, Section C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against on behalf of the public agency. KRS, the third one is KRS 61.810, Section F, discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student without restricting that employees, members, or students' right to a public hearing if requested. This exception shall not be interpreted to permit discussion of general personnel matters in secret.
So those are the reasons for executive. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion, sir.
Motion's been made by Mary. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstained? We're going to take a 10-minute break for anybody who might need a restroom break.